So, Hare Krishna everyone again. We are starting our fourth Gita lesson today, and we have just completed chapter 1. We are into the fifth Sunday of our classes. For the first Zoom session, we will do our class verses. We'll do a class with discussion of the verses and the actual essence of Gita. And maybe if there's time, we'll do stories today. Otherwise, today we'll focus on completing, the basic concepts which are crucial to start understanding the Gita. So before we begin, let's pray. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। Okay. Good morning, Arav. Arav is audio is there? Yeah. Hare Krishna, Arav. Okay. So let's just say the Hare Krishna together once. So put your hands up like this and say with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Alright. So, in chapter 1, if we just do a quick review, can you all see the screen? Can you see the chapter 1 overview?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. So here we can see that it begins by, in chapter 1, it begins by Dhritarashtra's asking what is happening in the war. And we can understand by that simple one verse that Dhritarashtra was doubtful, fearful and partial. Now why do we keep revising all this? It's important to revise because only then we will be clear with the concepts. That's why we keep on revising. Then we come to know about...
To not forget.
Yeah, so that you will not forget. And then we come to know about Duryodhana's mindset in chapter 1. So we see how he is bragging, he's so proud of his, of his army. At the same time, he's nervous and he's also doubting his loyal ones. So he's trying to make his own guru, realize that, see, you better, fight carefully. You've already made mistakes. And he has the fact that Duryodhana keeps on bragging or talking about himself or self-glorification shows that he is insecure. So remember, that was part of your quiz also last time. So when you are insecure, you keep on talking to praise yourself. So when you see somebody praising themselves, you should have sympathy, that the person is actually insecure for some reason. Then we come to know about how auspicious Krishna's side is, that is Pandavas. And we looked at all those different symbols, right? The conch shells, the Krishna's presence itself, Hanuman on the flag, yeah. Lakshmi Devi is automatically there on the side of wherever Krishna is there, because Krishna is actually Vishnu's form, right? So Lakshmi Devi will always be there. So prosperity will be there on the side of Pandavas. Then we saw how the chariot is by Agni Deva. And we looked at Gandiva and that it is the Ekadashi and all those things we had seen. And then we looked at how the Lord is always a well-wisher and for his devotees he does anything. So we see how Krishna becomes a charioteer. And finally, we are able to see the miseries of life when Arjuna is asking Krishna to bring the chariot to the center. And Arjuna looks at all his relatives and friends on the opposite side and how he feels symptoms of stress. He feels 5 of those things we had looked at. Remember, 5 of those different reasons why he says that I'm not going to fight. So before we move on to chapter 2, I want to actually, since last time I didn't have the presentation, I do want to share with all of you the once more the last classes, whatever we were discussed. So I'm going to stop share and once more I want to start sharing the second PPT. And we will just quickly revise the basic concepts that we had already learned in the earlier class as well.
Yes.
We had understood that Sanjaya is actually the advisor and a secretary of Dhritarashtra, and he is a disciple of Vyasa, Veda Vyasa, who is also an incarnation of Vishnu, and he is the one who wrote the whole Mahabharata and all the scriptures, the Vedas. So we understood, we kept on revising that the 5 main topics of the Bhagavad-Gita are Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Right? So this also we have done. We understood Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Yes. Chapter 1 we understood is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So yoga actually means spiritual path to union with God. That is what yoga actually means. You are one with that cause of all causes. God is actually the cause of all causes. So you are able to be one with God, that is yoga, and it happens sometimes through Vishada, means through sorrow. So there is so much of sadness in Arjuna's heart, and because of that he reaches out to the right person, that is God himself, and he gets guidance on how to go on a spiritual path, and he learns about so many yogas, ways of reaching God, right? And we looked at the different reactions of these 3 people and the signs of victory, the reasons of lamentation. So today, children, we are going to discuss compassion mainly. Okay, we are going to see what Krishna is going to answer to Arjuna's feeling of compassion for the death of all these people who are in the Kaurava side. Because they are all going to die, how he is feeling so soft hearted. Actually he is feeling weakness. He is unable to understand that his duty is right now to fight. So I want you all to understand that the Gita is not asking everyone to go on war and fight. It's actually simply asking everyone to do their duty. So Arjuna's duty at that point of time in the war was to fight. He's supposed to fight, otherwise he's going to set a bad example for everyone. So it was his duty to fight. So each one of us has our own duties, and sometimes there are different reasons why we are wondering, there are so many problems and issues. Some of you may have friends issues, my friend is not talking to me. Some of you may have teachers issues, you may have issues with parents who have too much of expectation from you, or may want you to do something but you want to study, or you want to do something else. So many confusions come in all of our lives. And then I had told you about, you need to understand who is saying this Gita. So in the Gita, it is being told to all of us. Who is the listener of the Gita? Not only Arjuna, not only everybody in the battlefield, but the listener of the Gita is every one of us. From after so many, almost 5,000 years, we are still listening to the Gita, because the Gita is also meant for each one of us. So each one of you also needs to think of, what is the message for me? What are my confusions? How do I try to solve my problems using the Gita? So you need to make it your own Gita. It's for each one of you and for me. Okay, and you need to understand that the speaker of the Gita, unless you do not understand that the speaker of the Gita is Bhagavan himself. He is an incarnation of Krishna is a complete incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That is why Veda Vyasa says in the Gita, whenever Krishna starts speaking, you will see he will say Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha means spoke. When Arjuna speaks, he will say Arjuna Uvacha. When Dhritarashtra speaks, he will say Dhritarashtra Uvacha. When Sanjaya speaks, he will say Sanjaya Uvacha. But when Krishna speaks, he doesn't say Krishna's name. He says Bhagavan Uvacha, because he wants us all to remember that The person who is speaking is none other than God Himself. If we don't understand that, we cannot understand the Gita. It's not possible to understand the Gita unless we understand that the speaker is Bhagavan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Only then we can understand the Gita. Okay, so I had told you that when people try to understand God, first of all, they sometimes see Him as just energy. They see, okay, God is the cause of everything, and then they say, okay, if we're looking at, say, water, then we look at the molecules of water. It's actually made up of atoms, and then it's basically energy, and so you say, okay, everything is energy, and then you are thinking that God is just energy. That is Brahman. That is also a stage of realization. Then further you understand with more meditation and understanding that there is a jiva, that is an atma inside us. We will learn a lot about atma this class and next class. Okay, so other than Ishvara, we will be learning about jiva a lot, the jiva atma, the jivatma. So the atma is there within us, and there is a paramatma also within all of us. Okay, so there is God's the form of God also is there within each one of us. That is a second state of realization. But when we are able to see that God actually is present as a person, a person who cannot be described at all. He has got, so many words are used by sages who meditate on Him to describe Him, but no description is complete. He is so indescribable. And we looked at all these features, and I just for one particular feature, strength, I told you the story of, which story did I tell you last class? To show you how Krishna is so strong?
Ma'am, how he
How he lifted the which mountain did he lift?
Ma'am, at Govardhan.
Yes. He just, as if a child is lifting a mushroom, so easily he just lifted the Govardhan mountain and held it in his little finger for so many days. So obviously he is like super strong. It's not like he did a lot of exercise in the gym and did muscle building and all that, right? So it is very clear that he has supernatural powers and he is God Himself. Alright, so that was what we were discussing last class, and we will do a lot of stories of Krishna so that we can dwell on Krishna with a lot of love, and we can develop bhakti, and we can have prem bhakti, love of God, we can develop through the study of Gita and Krishna stories. So then we had discussed about how Krishna is so strong. He is very, very beautiful. Okay, so His beauty is incomparable. If you look at all the, the beautiful people in the world together also, they cannot match the beauty of Lord Krishna. So beautiful He is. And then we looked at His renunciation. He has a quality of renunciation. Though He loves everyone, He has, so much of deep affection for His devotees and everyone. Still, He is actually renounced. He is unattached. He is not engaged in everything. We have these pictures where we have instances where how He is leaving. See, when He was born as Sri Rama, when He was just going to become the king, Dasharatha is forced to send him away to the forest, but he is not at all sad or upset. He just goes into the forest as if it's a normal thing. So he can renounce wealth so easily and anything. So he is basically renounced, and he is the knower of everything. He knows all the Vedas. He knows the past, present and future. He knows how, the entire universe. There's nothing that Krishna doesn't know. So he is the all-knower, and he has all the richness of the world. Person may be super rich. The richest person in the earth, we can say, is, Bill Gates. So I don't know who is the latest one. But, however rich a person can be, no one can match the richness of Krishna. Because Krishna is the original owner of everything. You may say, oh, I have a car which is a BMW. But I have a big bungalow in the center of Bombay, the most posh locality of Bombay. But does it belong to you? No, you're just going to be there for as long as you're alive, and then it's going to go to someone else, or it's going to just go back. So nothing in this world belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna, and he is all opulence and richness. And he is all famous also. His stories are famous. We are still speaking about him. No one can match the fame of Krishna, who is the supreme personality of Godhead. And then I wanted to speak last class about our relationships. Now, through the Gita, we need to learn how to establish a relationship with this divine personality called Krishna. Because in our present life, we may have good relationships with our parents, with our friends, with our teachers, but at some point or the other, there will be some disappointment. Either they'll be angry about something we are doing, or they will leave us and go. Suppose it's a husband, or they may be divorced, or there'll be heartbreaks. And if nothing else, you had a beautiful relationship, no problems, but definitely at death they will be separated. So there is no relationship which is eternal. The only relationship that is eternal is our relationship with Krishna, who is Achyuta. Achyuta means he never fails. Right? So I'm going on discussing about the qualities of God to you, because you have to understand that unless you can see Gita as spoken by Krishna, there is no use of studying the Gita. So you need to keep on understanding that. If somebody is in the waiting room, can you see? Because I couldn't see anybody so far. Okay. So we are going to establish a relationship with Krishna. And I had also told you about the miseries. When we talk about miseries of life, remember that? Do you remember anybody the 3 types of miseries? Who remembers? 3 types of miseries beginning with Adi. Anyone? Okay. So let's revise. I can't see anybody unmuting. So we'll quickly revise the 3 types of miseries.
I don't know.
Okay, so Misha, you can just revise that the 3 types of miseries are Adhyatmika, which is coming from your own body and mind. Any misery which Atmika means self. So any misery that comes because of your own self, you are tense, you're worried, you have some psychological problems or physical problems, your leg is paining. All these miseries are related to yourself, your body, your mind. So those are called Adhyatmika, miseries which are because of yourself. Then there is Adhidaivika, which is because of natural disasters. There may be a drought, famine, earthquake, flood, pandemics like how we are having now, the COVID pandemic. All those are Adi Daivika. They are caused by nature. Then we have Adi Bhautika, which is because of other living things. Bhautik means living creatures, other living entities. It can be because of society, the politics, the situation, the community, the whole nation, or because of some other animals or insects, okay, the mosquitoes. Any irritation caused because of other living things is called Adi Bhautika. So just try to revise these 3 types of miseries. Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika, yes, and Adi Bhautika.
Ma'am, I can't see the screen.
Oh, okay. Good, you told me. I was nicely thinking that you can see the screen. Okay, so now you can see the screen? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the slides I was sharing, children. I was just sharing how Krishna is. I had sent the PDF also to you. How Krishna is strong, the most beautiful. He is renounced. He has the quality of knowing everything. He has all the riches. He is the most famous. And he is Achyuta, the only relationship which is eternal. And so we must constantly try to establish this relationship. And we discussed about what are the miseries of life. We understood the types of miseries, symptoms of stress we are going to see. Adhyatmika, Adhidaivika and Adhibhautika. Remember these three types of miseries very well. Try to, any problem you have tried to think, is this Adhyatmika or is this Adidaivika or is this Adibhautika? And you will be able to see that you can clearly put it in one of them. Okay. So, and then we had discussed about Arjuna describing his own stress. He talks about his limbs are quivering, his mouth is drying up, his whole body is trembling, his hair is standing on end. He can't even hold his Gandiva, he's just slipping off, his skin is burning and his legs are not able to stand, his mind is reeling because he's not able to see that he just has to do his duty come what may. Instead, he is feeling compassion. We look at mainly compassion today. Alright, why the compassion is causing this problem. So we have, now let's go back to today's slide. I'll just go back to today's slide. Okay, so let me share the screen before I continue. Okay, so can you all see? Let's begin with, can you see the screen, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are going to start chapter 2. After we have quickly revised everything that we have discussed in chapter 1, we are beginning the chapter 2, which is Samkhya Yoga, and it is also called the Gita Saramsha. That means as soon as Arjuna is so confused and disappointed, Krishna actually gives all his teachings in this one chapter. It's called a Saramsha or summary of the Gita. So the second chapter, if we understand very well, it means we have understood the whole teachings of Gita very well. After that, the remaining chapters, 16, totally 18 chapters. So the remaining 16 chapters are all, Arjuna going on asking doubts and clarifying and again. So you also, children, as you will think more and more, you will get doubts, you will think about it, you will try to understand it, and you will, as you read the Gita, your doubts also, whatever Arjuna is asking will be your doubts also, which Krishna will be clarifying throughout the Gita. But right now, you have to understand that chapter 2 is the primary focus of Gita. You come to know everything you want to about the Gita from the chapter 2. That's why it's called the Gita Saramsha. It's also called Samkhya Yoga. Like I told you, yoga is a way to reach God. So, alright. So, Samkhya Yoga, the word Sankhya, in Hindi it is like numbers. So, it's related to counting. And this science of yoga or spiritual path to reach God was established by Kapila Muni, and he aims to overcome suffering in this world by discriminating. Discriminating means knowing the difference between the soul and Prakriti, that is Purusha and Prakriti. He wants us to be able to learn Sankhya Yoga and understand the difference between the soul or the Purusha and Prakriti, which you will slowly also understand as we go. Alright, so a quick recap. The reasons why Arjuna says he cannot fight are, again try to recap the 5 reasons. First is, what is the first one, Arav?
My first one is compassion.
Yeah. Arya, what is the second one?
No enjoyment.
Yeah, so what is no enjoyment? He says that even if I win or I lose or if I die, there is no enjoyment. Even if I destroy the whole army and if I win, I'm not going to be happy. So he says there is no enjoyment in fighting. What is the third one, Niranjan?
Sin.
Sin. So what does he feel? He feels that if he fights, he is going to do a big sin by killing his own master, his own guru. And Misha, what is the fourth main reason why he says I don't want to fight? Misha? Family traditions. Misha is, I think, unable to unmute. So, Misha, the family traditions are the fourth reason why he is not able to fight. It means he says that so many people will die and so he will not be able to fight. So, let's quickly move on to the Gita Saramsha, which is the main chapter thing we are going to discuss today. it answers, Krishna is actually answering all of these 5 questions in this chapter. We will mainly talk about the first one, which is related to knowledge about the soul or the Jivatma. Okay, and in this chapter we will also come to know what is Jnana Yoga, Buddhi Yoga and Samkhya Yoga, and who is Sthita Dhira Muni. Don't get confused or worried about these terms. We will be understanding them through the course. So we are going to, we have already been discussing and trying to understand what is or who is God. What is God means what are the qualities of God we have been trying to see. We'll be seeing it better. Who is a real me? Today's main thing, children, I want you to remember is who is the real me. That's what you're going to understand today. And you will see that life after death, is it a fact or is it a fiction? After people die, what really happens? We will see that. And related to 2 duties, we will be doing it next class. We will not be studying that one today. Okay. So, we'll quickly go through all of these verses. We have only 10 minutes, so we'll just quickly go through all these verses. So, in 2.1, that is the first verse, as well as, in the first verse we see Sanjaya narrating. So Sanjaya is saying that seeing Arjuna full of compassion, depressed, Madhusudana is another word for Krishna, okay, because he had killed Madhu. So he is also called Madhusudana, and Krishna, he is speaking the following words. So Krishna is just narrating that seeing Arjuna full of compassion, Krishna will speak the following words. What does Krishna say? Now look here, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. We're not saying Krishna Uvacha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. What does Krishna first say? He says, my dear Arjuna, how have the impurities come upon you? So when you are very, steadfast, I am doing my duty, and there is no impurity or doubt in your mind, you know what you have to do. But Arjuna has got doubts about his own duty. So he is asking, where does all this impurity coming in your mind, dear Arjuna? They are not at all fit for a man who knows the value of life or his duties. And if you don't do your duty, you are going to get infamy. That means if you are not going to do your duty, people are going to speak ill about you, and you are going to be famous in the bad way. People will say, oh my God, Arjuna, he ran away from the battle. Right? So Krishna is actually here chastising. Chastising means scolding. He is scolding Arjuna. He is saying that how come you are thinking like this? You are supposed to be more duty conscious, and he is trying to wake up Arjuna, okay, and try to tell him about why he needs to do his duty. So, so this is a small shlok I took from Brahma Samhita. In Brahma Samhita it says there are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because no one can excel him. He is full of knowledge. He is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. So, and he is the cause, the primeval Lord Govinda is the cause of all causes. I had already told you this. That again here we said this because for the first time in the Gita, Bhagavan Uvacha has come. Then he says, Krishna continues to say in 2.3, the third verse, O son of Pritha. Okay, he is talking to Arjuna. Don't yield to this degrading impotence. Degrading means making you low. Don't go and go into this emotion which is actually degrading for you, and it's actually weakening you. It's not becoming of you. It's not a right emotion for you. Give up this petty weakness and arise. Stop thinking like this and arise. So this is what he says in the third verse. Now Arjuna is once more explaining from the verse 2.4 to 2.8. Arjuna will once more try to explain why he is feeling so desperate, why he is unable to do his duty. So Arjuna is here saying, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counter-attack with arrows in battle? Men like Bhishma, who's my grandfather, my grandsire, and I used to play with him. He took care of me. He has given me so much love, And how can I fight and kill him? How can I fight and kill Drona? Again, for the next 3 verses, he will be talking about this. He's going to say it would be better to live in the world begging. So he's so soft-hearted. He thinks that it's fine if they don't give me anything. Let the Kauravas not give me any part of the kingdom. I'll just beg. I'm okay with begging. So here we can see how noble Arjuna is, He's not bothered about the kingdom, although the whole kingdom actually belongs to them, to the Pandavas. Still he is ready to beg, to live in the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. I don't want to live after killing my teachers and gurus. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So even if we enjoy and we get everything, all that we get is tainted with the blood of these people who I respect and love so much. And then he says that nor do we know which is better, and actually I don't even know which is better. Is it better to be conquered and defeated by the Kauravas, or is it better for me to conquer them? So he is so thoroughly confused. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are standing before us on the battlefield. He's saying, I'm not going to be, happy to live at all after killing the sons of Dhritarashtra. He is ready to forgive everything that they have done to him and to his brothers at that moment, and he forgets his duty, what is his real duty as a Kshatriya. He forgets that. And this shloka is what we are going to learn today. Okay, we're going to learn Karpanya Dosha. I'll just put into another recording next part. I think you all can leave and join again. Can you do that?